Hey there! In this video, we're going to answer the question, how do I help my child make good choices? We're going to tell you the two things that every parent needs to know just to start with. We're going to talk about why kids don't make good choices, and I'm going to tell you 3 things that you maybe never even thought of when it comes to helping your child make good choices. Okay, so let's start. I'll just start with myself as an example because I was one of those parents that thought my kid is totally going to make good choices because I'm going to set them up. Number one, I'm going to be really clear. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to explain things to them. I'm going to be really logical. And I'm going to say to them, look, if you do this, this good thing will happen. And if you don't do this, well, this other thing will happen. And, you know, kids will make decisions based on their own self-interest, right? So they'll figure it out. And sometimes they'll choose the wrong thing, and I'll just use natural consequences as much as possible. So I tried that. And my child sometimes did things that I explained would result in good consequences. And sometimes the natural consequences were punishments that he ran into over and over and over again. And I had to stop and ask myself, okay, why is my child making these choices that are turning out terribly for him and doing it over and over and over again? So I had to do a lot of research, and I learned that there are 3 things that happen developmentally with kids. 3 things that actually grow in their brain as they get older. And for each kid it's different. It's not just age, it's genes, it's development, and it's also rats. What was the other thing? Anyway, our neurological development, that's how it goes. There's the things that grow are self-control. The ability to stop yourself is a really important part of our development. And well, when you observe children naturally, you can see that children do acquire self-control over time. And it's not just experience, it's actually a part of the brain that helps you put on the brakes. And if you've had more than one child, you can see that sometimes that's just naturally different between kids. But hopefully, as kids get older, they do get a stronger ability to just say, no, not right now, I'm gonna wait. That sometimes takes a while with kids. Sometimes it's not where we want it to be. Another thing that is part of development is the ability to plan ahead. So, this is actually not a big strength for me. I am not a great planner. The work of Russell Barkley I found really helpful and interesting because he helped me understand why I can't think of a few steps ahead. Like I'm the worst chess player because there's a certain kind of visual memory that helps you say, I'm going to do this, then this, then this, then this. For some people, that part of their brains doesn't work so well. I'm one of them, and a lot of our kids don't develop that as quickly as we would like. They are not thinking about what's about to happen. They're not looking into the future to see what's about to happen next. And the last thing is flexibility. Flexibility is an amazing skill. Okay, that didn't work. What am I going to do? Switch to something else. Again, our ability to switch between ideas and come up with new ideas, that's developmental. That doesn't always come with experience. Natural consequences don't teach flexibility. So when your child tries something and it doesn't work, if your child doesn't have the flexibility, unfortunately, they may continue to run into that natural consequence over and over and over again. So before we get too hard on kids, I just want to pause and say for a second, for grown-ups, we definitely still need some help sometimes when it comes to self-control, planning, and flexibility. Like, you don't have to say or anything, but have you ever paid a bill late? Or have you ever had too much to drink? Or have you ever said something rude to somebody in your family, maybe? Lost your temper? Yeah, absolutely. Like, none of us are perfect. So I wanted to start out by kind of giving kids a bit of a break, because we definitely all goof up in this area. But we hope that our kids are going to be very logical and rational, and they're just not. So what do? How do we help our kids make good choices, knowing they're kind of behind the 8 ball developmentally? Okay, I'm going to throw some things at you. These are new, hopefully, and I hope you get a kick out of it. Okay, number 1, send them outside. Send them outside to play, give them something to climb and something to run around on. And happily, there's actually some really good research that says that when kids raise their heart rate and they have like recess at school and they have lots of active playtime, it's good for their whole body. It's actually good for their brains too. And it may help some of those cognitive functions that we talked about, because in one study, when the school increased the amount of recess, kids got sent to the office less often. The number of, like, they did better when they were in class. And I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, but depending on your situation, if you want your kids to make better choices, you could try adding more cardio to their lives. Let's take a moment to talk about sensory, because when I looked up at the research for sensory activities, I didn't find as much as I wanted, but look at your kids. Like, look at what they're trying to do. Are they trying to fit into tight spaces? Are they trying to flip upside down? They're not doing that because they're crazed jungle beasts. They're actually doing that because their body enjoys that kind of input. And we're all like that. We all have our own preferences. Some people like spicy food, some people like it mild. Some people like tight clothes, some people like loose. We all like our own sensory experiences. So if a child is getting into trouble, they might be looking for a particular kind of sensory experience. Or you might notice a pattern. Maybe, oh yeah, my child is really calm after he gets into his like squeezy little sleeping bag, or after we play with silly putty together. So I wish I had some really good research, but it really can't hurt to just experiment and see what works. Sometimes different sensory experiences will help your child use all of those cognitive functions and make better choices. Okay. Another thing that we can do to help our kids think more clearly is, instead of waiting for the natural consequences, sometimes our kids are so stressed out in that moment they cannot think straight, and they do not put A and B together. I did this and then this happened. They're just mad and they're having all the feelings. So what can we do? We can actually look for teaching experiences outside of those, like learning the hard way. We can do what if. What's going to happen if blah, blah, blah? Or what do you think would happen if blah, blah, blah? Getting kids to just flex those muscles and think through a little bit can help a lot, because in the moment they might not do it by themselves. You can tell them some of the expectations. You can give them some of the extra information, things that are going to happen next, that you know are going to happen next because you're a grown-up and you can see into the future, but kids are limited in that ability. And you can also tell stories. I love telling stories of things that I messed up when I was a kid, because it always gets my kids' attention. They're like, oh, what did you do, Mom? So I tell them things that I did, that where I made a mistake, where I got into trouble, because then we can stop and think like, oh, why? Why did that happen? It gives them a chance to really pause and think. Okay, and one more thing, and this is really big and we miss it sometimes, although it's our kids' ability to make good choices is also dependent on their health. So you can sometimes see, like, after a really hard day, your child's nose is running and you're like, oh no, I didn't even realize, but you're coming out with a cold, you're super grumpy, but you didn't tell me, so I didn't know, and I was hard on you because I thought you were making bad choices. Another thing that, I mean, we can all say leads to some bad choices on our part when we don't get enough sleep. Is there something that we can do to help our children with sleep? Sleeping longer, staying in bed. I mean, that can be a whole other conversation, but behavior and sleep are definitely connected. So the ability to make a good choice is definitely supported by having a good sleep. Nutrition. A lot of kids have vitamin D deficiencies that we don't even know about. There are a lot of supplements that can maybe help. There's some evidence to show that omega-3s are good for us if they're not rotten and they're from a good source. So talk to your medical professional about what kind of food or medical supplements can help your child function optimally and make those good choices. Basically, all we're trying to do is, I mean, we want to give them great learning experiences, but we want to help prepare them to learn in that moment so they don't make the same mistakes, so they can slow down before they make the mistake, so they can see the mistake coming and make a turn. Okay. Thank you for staying with me. I was so happy to have you guys on live. I would love to hear if you have any questions. Maybe tell me your examples of the differences that you've seen when you've made changes in any of these areas. And thanks so much for sharing. Okay, bye.